Hey, this is Heal with Dr. Fred, and I'm coming to you every week with spiritual principles that get us out of our mind, out of the stress and anxiety in the world, transform, renew our mind, and come into who we are created to be, fulfill our purpose, get peace of mind, and live a better life. So, what are we going to talk about today, and how can we do that? Do you need some healing? Don't we all? Don't we all need some healing? Hey, we are human beings. We are emotional beings, and we have very strong emotions. We're created in the likeness and image of God. Our spirit is divine, creative life force. We are a creative life force. We are eternal. That's who we're created to be. We're created in the likeness and image of God. We are divine, and we are also human. And sometimes those things can be in conflict. They can be battling each other like this. Why? Because we get in our mind, we have human emotion, we have human perceptions, we perceive things that happen to us, we hold these emotions, and then eventually those emotions can make us sick. And guess what? Even Western medicine, which is a completely outside-in approach to health, which is completely backwards to energy healing and emotional healing, knows and has studies that show our emotions that we harbor can cause disease. And there's a big link between depression and anxiety and focusing on the outside world that's related to cancer, that's related to heart problems and heart attacks. So even medicine knows that. Isn't that amazing? Now, I've also heard some Christians say that, well, energy healing is not of God. Well, let me give you a quote, because then I got to think, well, what did Jesus do? Let's look at Mark 5:30. And Jesus, immediately knowing in himself that virtue had gone out of him. Now, this is when the woman with the blood issues got to crawl through the crowd and say, man, if I have the faith that I can just touch his robe, that I'm going to be healed. Now, imagine it's probably army crawling through there. Touch his robe, energy comes at him, and he's like, okay, who touched me? Hey, metaphorically, WTF, what happened? Energy just went out of me. What just went out of me? In the Bible, they say virtue just went out of me. And then he turns back and he says, who touched my clothes? Of course, the Bible's like, man, everybody's throwing you. What are you talking about? No. One person touched me. And he said unto his daughter, Mark 5:34, thy faith has made thee whole. Go in peace, get this, and be whole of thy plague. Man, is that energy healing? Isn't that amazing? So I'm going to give you a few quotes from a book that I'm reading and rereading. It's by Rocco Errico. He's an ordained minister, and There Was Light. So check out this. Now, I talk about Jesus because Jesus came in conscious of his divinity. He had the Christ consciousness. That's an awareness. That is consciousness of your divinity, and that's why I talk about Jesus. And he said, man, he did some pretty amazing stuff, regardless of who you think he was. He pretty much changed the world. Would you agree? So here's a quote. Jesus was ever aware, always aware, of God's healing forces that were active all the time. Not just in him, they're active all the time in all of us. Why? Because we're created in his likeness and image. They are continually active. It's not even that it's active, it's who we are. Isn't that amazing? And his consciousness, that is Christ, the consciousness of Christ, divine consciousness, knew nothing but God's restorative powers, wholeness, and perfection. Isn't that's really who we are. So what did he know? He knew God's perfection in himself, but he saw God's perfection in all of us, and that was his message. Isn't that fascinating? So sickness and disease are totally contrary to who we are spiritually, because it's counter to our divine presence, our divine identity. Isn't that amazing? It's contrary to the law of God, which is who we are from the inside out. So then you go, well, people get sick. Why do they get sick? Well, first of all, if your body is a temple, God is in the temple, and the temple is in you, man, you better take care and respect your body. Like, why do I work out? Why do I eat organic? Why do we do the things we do? Well, I like being healthy. It's a hell of a lot more fun than being sick. I'll tell you that right now, because I've had injuries and I've had those things, and I grew up with headaches and stomach aches and recurrent colds and chronic sinus problems and all these things before I got into chiropractic. So take care of your body, take care of your spine and nervous system. And I know that this is the physical vehicle that we're using to fulfill our purpose. Man, if this doesn't work, then our purpose is going to be limited, and sickness, disease, and injury, I don't believe is part of our purpose. Take care of your temple. How about that? Now, why do we take care of our temple? Because we're here to fulfill a purpose. That's the vehicle we use. So get the right spiritual perspective. So 1, your body's temple. 2, take care of your freaking temple. How about that? And 3, let's get the right spiritual perspective from our heart and spirit into our mind. So what's your belief system and what's your level of faith? Now, there are faithful people that pass with disease. Absolutely, I can't answer every question. Are there people that believe in God and I don't know what their purpose is? And sometimes that helps people become more faithful. I can't answer. I'm not about to answer those questions. And if you would like help with those answers, then maybe we can see it and we know the story. Maybe we can help. So the question is, now, here's the question. Powerful question. Whose advice do you follow? If you're following the world and what's going on outside, you will surely get sick, man. You need to do, if it's created by man, you need to go exactly the opposite way. You know, you say, oh man, these things will work or you won't get sick. Oh man, everybody that did that's getting sick. Isn't that? In fact, those people are sicker than the people that didn't do it. Isn't that amazing? Do not conform to the patterns of the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Follow the laws of God. Watch the Healed with Dr.Fred video. Are you breaking the laws? And those are the laws of God, not the laws of man. And go to Healed with Dr.Fred Facebook page where all these are archived and you can put them together because they are in succession. How cool is that? So let's look at Luke 11:34-36. Your eye is the lamp of your body. When your eyes are good, your whole body also is full of light. That's divine energy. That means you can't get sick when there's light in there. But when they are bad, meaning your eye is your mind, your body is full of darkness. What's that? Disease. It's full of ignorance. It's, even though we have God's genetic code, our emotions can actually turn on genetic triggers, turn off genetic triggers. Our mind it can control our body and our emotions. So the term eye refers to your mind. Vision comes from your mind. If you have a spiritually based desire, that comes from your heart, which means it's full of love, it's full of light, it's full of joy, it's full of peace, and that consciousness heals disease. Those consciousnesses are above disease. When our thoughts, come from our mind is in scarcity, our mind is in fear. How does our mind get in fear? Our interpretation of sin. It's what is our perception of ourselves, because there's only one sin. Living your humanity and never knowing your divinity. I learned that straight from Jesus, an out-of-body experience in a whole other dimension that was not in this world. That story is in the book, You're More Powerful Than You Think. And he taught me specifically, and from that experience I wrote that chapter, all about forgiveness. So that is really the sin. So what is the perception of yourself that causes you to act outside of your divinity? And then what do? Religion teaches us guilt. We have resentment. We feel bad. We harbor those emotions. And sin is related to fear. Fear is related to death. And we are well on our way to disease. What is the key? Love. Forgiveness. Forgiveness is an act of love. Not only forgiving other people, but especially forgiving yourself, which is why in Healed, accepting forgiveness for yourself and others. There's a reason we say for yourself first. So check this out. Matthew 9:5. Which is easier? So when he walks up to the pool of Bethesda, he says to the paralytic with his mat, which is easier? To say to a paralytic, your sins are forgiven, or to say, get up, pick up your mat, and walk? So which is easier? Hey, you can say your sins are forgiven, but what's your belief system? Do you believe you're forgiven? Do you believe you can let all these things go? Do you believe you can release all those emotions? Or is it better to say, hey, you know what? Jesus said I'm forgiven so I can get up and walk. So what's he tell the paralytic? Imagine Jesus looking at him like, oh my God, you're never going to get there. Let me just impart this energy healing. Look, get up and walk. You're healed. And the guy gets up and walks away. He knew the humanity, the limitations of our humanity, and that is related to disease. Can we attain a higher consciousness and actually get healed? So many diseases and illnesses are manifestations of invalid thinking. Sickness, in the Aramaic word, which is the language that, in Aramaic meaning, which is the language Jesus spoke, means weakness. Sickness is weakness of a suffering human mind. Sickness is weakness of a suffering mind that can't let go, that doesn't know how to move from their mind to the heart. And that's one of the reasons, man, I got healed by the healed system. So love and forgiveness are always the answer. That's why Jesus came here. So are you willing to be healed? Because healing begins from a willingness to be whole in spirit, mind, and body. And that's a quote from Rocco Errico. So, hey, if you're ready, go to youaremorepowerful.com. The whole system is on there. I can help coach you through it. If you're ready to be healed, literally, and you don't know how to get there, there's ways to get there. Go to Heal with Dr. Fred Facebook page. It's $9.97 a month. All these are archived because every week we bring you spiritual principles to get out of your mind, get into your heart, get back into joy, get into peace of mind, heal your body, heal your mind, and let your spirit of who you're created to be come through. I love you all. Peace be with you.